going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Fantasy Alarm YouTube today on a Thursday afternoon. Got Howard Bender with me to start today's show, talking some Thursday night football picks, props, predictions for tonight's Saints-Rams game. Coming up in a little bit, we'll have some NBA with Jon Impemba. He'll hop on. And then wrap things up with some college football bowl picks for myself. So loaded show, covering a little bit of everything today. But Howard, how are you doing, man? You ready for some Thursday night football tonight?
I'm definitely ready for some Thursday night football tonight, Servo. I am, I've got a betting article over at fantasyalarm.com. You can check that out right there. But, because I'm such a generous guy this time of year, I'll just give out my picks here because it's kind of an interesting game here tonight, don't you think? I mean, all signs point towards the Rams just whooping ass on the Saints, right? Saints are traveling across a couple of time zones, on a Thursday. Stafford's look great. Cooper Kupp, Kyren Williams has been ridiculous since he's been back over the last 4 games. And, everything lines up to have the Rams just kill them in this one here. And, when it all lines up so beautifully like that, Servo, I get a little nervous. I always say it's the paranoia in me that the NFL is genuinely going to try and screw my bets over. So, I put a little hedge on it tonight. There you go. How about that? I put a little bit of a hedge on, not a lot of a hedge, just a little bit of a hedge.
You mean a little Saints money line action? Are you talking?
No. I just bet the Rams on the alt line instead. I'm not worried about, to be honest, I'm not worried about the Saints winning this game. Okay. I'm really not. But I think.
Don't say that. Don't say.
I'm just saying, I don't see the Saints winning this game. Can the Saints cover a 4.5 point spread? Make it into a push or something like that? Yeah, something stupid can happen like that. So I'm just taking the alt line. I'm just going to take Rams minus the 3.5. I'll buy out an extra half point. It's not even that big of a deal, right? It's minus 120 on BetMGM. If you just took Rams minus 4, it's minus 110. So, for the little bit of extra juice that I have to pay for the potential security of that, I was even thinking about buying it down to minus 3, but I'm just at the 3.5.
I was going to say, BetMGM, it's minus 145 to get the minus 3 if you want a little bit more safety, just a field goal win. But I'm with you.
What's fun in that?
Well, listen, what's the saying? Scared money don't make money, right?
Don't make money.
Give me the Rams minus 4. You like them 3.5. I'll take the minus 4. They're 2 7-7 teams, but I think the Rams are trending in a completely different direction right now than the Saints. I know the Saints have just won 2 games, but it was against the Giants and the Panthers. Okay, this is not like before that. They failed to cover as underdogs against the Lions. They lost and failed to cover against the Falcons the game before that. So I'm going with the Rams here. This is a team that their offense is clicking right now. Stafford's healthy. Cooper Kupp's healthy. Kyren Williams is a bell cow workhorse, looking like a stud. I mean, this offense is rolling. They've scored 28 plus points in 4 straight games, going over 30 in 3 of those. 4-1 in the past 5 games. 4-0 against the spread in the past 4 games. I am scared that we're both on the Rams, and I've seen around, the betting places, a lot of people are going Rams here. I've seen the public money is on the Rams,
it's like
but
87% of the public money. That's why I think it was 87% of the public money was on Rams minus 4. That's why I bought it down.
That's fair. But yeah, the Saints, I mean, listen, they're one of those teams this year that they've won and played well against, bad teams, bad offenses, but when they've played some of the better offenses, their defense has gotten a little exposed. Their rush defense has looked shaky against some of the better rushing attacks that they've faced. Rams they're such a balanced offense right now too, with Kyren Williams healthy too right now. And again, Stafford healthy from his thumb injury. Him and Cooper Kupp are clicking. I mean, this is I have a hard time seeing how the Saints keep pace on the scoreboard with the Rams here. And you're looking at the total at 45.5. It's kind of like in that
last
weird
words, Servo. I don't see how they put any kind of points up on the board. Yeah, here it comes.
Well, listen, it's just how I see it. I know it's like whatever. Anything can come back and bite you when you're giving this analysis out. But
what's the prop on a defensive touchdown for the Saints? Because right, I mean, can't you just see that Stafford throws that pick six right from the onset,
and Saints, all of a sudden, anytime defensive touchdown, the odds are a BetMGM doesn't have odds, but you can go first touchdown or last touchdown for pretty good odds, plus 5,000 for first touchdown to be a Saints defense or special teams touchdown.
All right.
Looks like it's not currently on the board for an anytime touchdown for the Saints defense, but yeah. Listen, I also look at the Saints here. They're 4-9-1 against the spread this season, and when the spread has been less than 5 points, which is what we have here, they're 2-8-1 against the spread. And on the flip side, Rams as favorites this season are 5-2 against the spread. So a lot of things are just pointing in the Rams' direction. I thought about like flip flopping here, but I'm not going. I'm going back. I'm taking the Rams here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't worry about that at all. I'm with you there. I'm just buying down, paying a little extra juice to see if I can avoid that annoying push that Vegas is going to try and give us with this 4-point spread.
Yeah, there's gonna be a late touchdown or 2-point conversion that definitely gives us the push here.
I like the under. I like the under in this game, though. I'll tell you that. The under is 8-6 in Rams games this year. The under is 10-4 in Saints games this year. I don't even need to talk about primetime over-unders and stuff like that because I know that, everybody's going to be like, oh, well, the last couple of Thursday night games, we've gotten some, big points scored. Yeah, I'm with you. But I'm also, I'm looking at this like 46, 45.5 over-under. And I just, I'll err on the side of caution and I will stay on the under.
How about a 30-14 game win for the Rams? I'd take that, right?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, let's do that.
Is that what you're feeling? That's your vibe right now, 30-14?
It would give the Rams the cover. It would give the under the cash. So
there you go.
I have more worries about the Saints scoring than the Rams, obviously, in this one. So
famous last words.
If you have any of your own picks or predictions for tonight's game, definitely throw them in the chat here when you're watching on YouTube, Fantasy Alarm YouTube. Like and subscribe there as well as you guys are tuning along. All right, props. Let's dive into some prop bets here. I think we both got a pick on Kyren Williams. I'll start out with mine. Is over his rushing yards. 92.5 is the line there on BetMGM -115. But he's on a roll right now. He has 100+ rushing yards in 3 of his last 4 games. Had 88 in the other one, so right around this range. But 100+ in 5 of his last 7 games too, before he got hurt. So this is, he's coming back from injury these past 4 games, and he's been right back in a bell cow workhorse role here for the Rams. Just saw before we went live, Ronnie Rivers being activated from the IR for the Rams. We'll see how many touches he gets. I don't think he's going to cut into Williams' workload much, though. And I look at the Rams' rush defense. They're allowing 126 rushing yards per game. It's a bottom-tier rush defense in the league. But when they've faced, again, as I was saying earlier, they've had a little bit better success against some of the lighter offenses they face. But when they face a good rushing attack, they've gotten a little exposed. 204 rushing yards to the Panthers a couple games ago, 142 versus the Lions, 228 against the Falcons, 156 to the Bears, 164 to the Colts. This is kind of like a weekly thing for them on the ground to get torn up. And I expect Williams, as he's been these past few games, to get 20+ carries. And I think if he gets that much workload, he's going over this, probably going for 100+ again here.
Yeah, I really like Kyron Williams in this one. You got over 92.5 rushing yards. I'm doing over 113.5 rushing plus receiving yards. I got it for minus 115 over at BetMGM. Also, I just like the combo there. That rushing yards seemed a little high at the 92.5. And if that's the case, then you're looking at like the receiving yards for him. If he rushes for 92.5, then you're only saying what you're looking at, like 22, 23 yards receiving. I think Kyron Williams can definitely put that up there together. He's eclipsed 120 rushing plus receiving yards in each of his last 5 games, dating back to before the injury happened earlier this season. So I love using him. 100%.
And this prop, kind of just gives you a little safety of what the game script might be. If it is a closer game or if the Rams are trailing, you could see more dump offs to Williams in the passing game too. So, all right, how about I'm going to go with my next one here. Cooper Kupp, over 5.5 receptions tonight. He's looking good now. Him and Stafford are now clicking, and he's been over this in 3 straight games. Has 8 and 6 receptions in these past 3 games, 8+ targets in each one too. When him and Stafford have played a full game together, which hasn't been total, it's only been about half the year this season, but he's gone over this receptions prop in 5 of 8 games that he's played in full with Stafford this year. Saints struggle against the slot, one of the worst teams against slot receivers, and having no Marshawn Lattimore just gives me more confidence in this pick too, whether Kupp is in the slot or on the outside. I just see him getting a lot of targets and connecting a lot with Stafford to go over this reception prop.
Yeah, dude, I'm definitely in on that. Why? Because I'm also in on Cooper Kupp over 71.5 receiving yards. Cooper Kupp takes the majority of his snaps out of the slot. And that means that he's matched up against Alontae Taylor, who is, a better outside corner than he is a slot corner. He's terrible against in the slot, and there's no way he's going to be able to hang with Cooper Kupp. This one, to me, is almost a no-brainer. I'm surprised that the number's a little on the low side, what I thought, but 71.5, yeah, I'll take the over. Please and thank you.
All right, so we're agreeing on our first 2 props here. I think we're going to disagree a little bit on this next one, maybe slightly. It's Alvin Kamara. We both got a pick on this guy tonight. I'm going over his receiving yards, 32.5 over on Caesars is the line. I look at this just line being a little too low for him because his receiving yards production has been, pretty consistent this season. He's been over this prop in 9 of 11 games this year, averaging 40 receiving yards per game. I expect the Saints to be playing a little bit from behind, as we were talking about. We both have the Rams winning this. I do think the Saints should be down, a touchdown or 2 at times tonight, which I think just results in more dump offs to Kamara, easier completions for him, just a lot more targets and easier catches. But in the Saints' losses this season, Kamara has been over this prop in all 6 of those losses, averaging 50 receiving yards per game and 8 receptions per game when the Saints do lose. So, I have the Saints losing tonight. So give me Kamara over his receiving yards.
All right. I mean, listen, I totally get that. The reason I'm on the under for 87.5 rushing and receiving yards, because I have a hard time seeing, them committing to the run that heavily with Alvin Kamara. The number just seems too high for me. So it's not like I can't see him, getting 6 catches for 40 yards or something like that. Like I could totally see that happening for Kamara. But then, is he going to be able to pick up the extra rushing yards on there to push him close to, 88 rushing yards? It's a little high for me. So I'm going to say the under on that rushing and receiving.
Yeah, I do think his rushing will be a little down tonight compared to other games. And, I'm on his receiving, but I don't think he's going to have over 88 receiving yards tonight. I'll tell you that. Paul Parsons in the YouTube chat here chiming in saying he likes Kupp for an anytime touchdown and over his receptions. Yeah, I got his over on the receptions. His anytime touchdown, BetMGM, get plus 120. Pretty good, plus odds for Kupp to score. He's scored in 3 straight games now too. I mean, as I said, like him and Stafford are on the same page right now, and scoring in 3 straight. We both like this matchup in the slot against the Saints, so I would not rule out Kupp getting into the end zone for sure tonight.
I like it, Paul. I like it.
So you said you think Kamara's rushing yards could be a little capped tonight. I got a rushing yards prop for the Saints, and this is just kind of going out on a whim here because I think this line is just a little too low. Taysom Hill, rushing yards, over 16.5 on BetMGM. Last game, he only had 1 carry for 1 yard, but he's been over this rushing yards prop in 5 of the last 7 games, has double-digit rushing yards in 9 of 13 games this season. I think after last week, they're playing from ahead. They didn't need him to be a rusher, but I feel like he's going to be more in the game plan from a rushing standpoint tonight because he's been there, and more often than not this year, using him as a runner. So taking a chance here, it's a low number in my opinion for a guy that can break off 2 rushes and go over this number, honestly. So yeah, give me the over on Taysom Hill.
I wish you nothing but the best of luck with that. I can't pick out a Taysom Hill prop to save my life. Like, is this the game that he does it? Is this not the game that he does it? So I will leave all Taysom Hill speculation to you, sir.
I just, he could do nothing else besides run for 17 rush yards, and I'd be fine with it. So that's all I need. If you do want to look at his, I'm looking at his anytime touchdown prop because what the heck, plus 220 is out there on BetMGM for Taysom Hill. Rob Vandekreek in the chat here. Chances of this happening: Kamara over 75 rushing plus receiving. Kyren Williams over 100 rushing plus receiving. Olave over 60.5 receiving. Higbee over 2.5 receptions, and Higbee touchdown for a plus 1,800 same game parlay there. There's a lot of legs in that one to get going. Let's see.
There's a lot of legs in that one. I was fine right up until the Tyler Higbee stuff.
You had to throw in the Tyler Higbee props.
I like that I suddenly like that. Then I kind of waffled on that. Not so much that the Saints are like this killer team against the tight end, but yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I will say
just the way I've been watching, like Higbee, like Will Davis was getting some nice work while Higbee was out, but you just watched Stafford just dropping dimes to Kupp and Puka, and it's just I wish Rob nothing but the best in that one there. But yeah,
I'd probably look at more Puka props than Higbee if I was going any other direction besides Kyren Williams on the Rams side of things, or Cooper Kupp and I mean you could put in maybe he's already locked this in, but I'd probably throw in. We both like Kyren here. I like Kamara's receiving. You're a little down on his combined rushing and receiving. Olave's a real wild card. I don't know what we get from Chris Olave tonight, honestly. You could take a chance on Rashid Shaheed, throw that into a parlay because I feel like he's been more involved. And but yeah, the Higbee ones throwing. Listen, it could happen. We're all here for these same game parlays cashing, Rob. So if you cash that, we'll give you props tomorrow for sure. All right, so that's about it for some player props and picks for Thursday Night Football. So we're gonna say goodbye to Howard Bender here. Because he's got other things to do, other shows to prep for. So appreciate you joining in, though, to talk some Thursday Night Football, Howard.
Thank you so much for having me, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. Good luck with, I guess, what Impemba's joining us here. Do a little NBA work. Oh, look at that.
There we go.
Son of a bitch right there.
Tag him in.
How you doing?
You're so handsome. He's so handsome that I can't stand how handsome he is. So I can look no longer at Jon Impemba, that handsome son of a bitch.
Take all the compliments I can get, Howard. Thanks.
back on tomorrow's show, giving out some betting picks for all the weekend's NFL games. So stay tuned for that. But John, what's up, man? Thanks for jumping in here to talk some NBA bets tonight.
Yeah, listen, it's we got 8 games total on the slate here. Some pretty interesting matchups. We have a team with 24 losses or 24 straight losses tonight, Servo, as a home favorite.
I noticed that the Pistons,
the Pistons have lost 24 straight games, and yet
are we betting the Pistons on the money line? What's the deal?
No way, not a shot. I don't know how you put any faith behind them, even though the Utah Jazz are severely depleted with their typical rotation and starters here tonight. Yeah. I didn't think we'd see a day where a 2-25 team, a 24 straight loss team would ever be a favorite, but here we are.
I mean, maybe Vegas is telling us something, you know?
Yeah, they're saying if you can't beat Houston, Utah team with Colin Sexton and friends, then you got no business being in the NBA probably.
Before we keep going with NBA, just wanted to throw this comment out there. We got Jose Ruiz on the chat here asking about Thursday Night Football here. What about Stafford over rushing yards and Carr over rushing yards?
Is it 1.5 for each? Like, what's the yardage total on the Stafford rushing prop here tonight? Right? Like,
I'll pull that up right now. Carr is 1.5 and Stafford is 0.5.
Okay, I was going to say these guys do not move from the pocket, so
you're basically also got to factor in,
Neils,
if the Rams are winning and then they're kneeling down, maybe Stafford goes under that.
Yeah, was it last week? Josh Allen, I think, to 2 consecutive kneels in that game, and he lost 3 yards and went under his rushing prop or something like that. I saw Twitter blowing up about something when it came to that. So I am not going to touch the rushing props on 2 quarterbacks that do not like to move forward out of the pocket. So
I know that's why I threw out Taysom Hill's rushing yards prop, because they bring him in to do the rushing if they want a quarterback running the ball. Just pulling up game logs for both these guys just to see what we're dealing with. Carr, I mean, last game he had negative. 2 games ago he had 0. 3 games ago he had -1.
That's what I'm saying.
So that's a risky one. But he has gone over it. Before that he went over it in 3 straight and then 6 of the last 7. So like I don't know. That's iffy. You also only need probably like a scramble if the Saints are trailing from Carr to go over that. Right. On the Stafford side of things, he does not run the ball. And he's only gone over this 4 or 5 of the last 8 games. So I think with Stafford right now, at the beginning of the year, he had some more rushing yards, like 11, 17, 14 in games. But since, he's coming back, he's been healthy from his thumb injury. I think he's running it less now because he doesn't want to get hurt.
He has Cooper Kupp now in the lineup. He wasn't there earlier this year. So
why run it with Stafford when you could just hand it off to Kyren Williams too? I mean, the guy's a stud. So, Jose, I think we'd probably both stay away from that. I just think there's other props I'd bet on for this game than have to take a chance on those. But the lines are low they're low for a reason, so I get it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, NBA here. You got some bets for tonight's slate. No Pistons on the card, I see though. But where else are you going tonight?
We're gonna go with the first one in that matchup, but it is the Jazz side. We're gonna go Colin Sexton over 27.5 points. Again, no Lauri Markkanen, no Jordan Clarkson, no Talon Horton-Tucker, no Keontae George. We're already seeing Colin Sexton put up some pretty nice scoring numbers of late since he's re-entered the starting lineup. Over 20 points, a handful of times gone over to this total, and 2 of the last 3 games here as well. He's gonna be the one just taking all the shots. So if he takes 30 shot attempts tonight, it honestly would not surprise me. The Pistons do not play good defense. Is a high pace game as well here, and the fact that it's even supposed to be a competitive spread, you could see Sexton play 35, 38 minutes here tonight. So I'm gonna go over Colin Sexton points tonight at 27.5.
Yeah, and in that game, I was just looking. The Jazz are 2-13 on the road this year. So talking about that maybe Pistons money line. I mean, interesting.
I don't even want to touch it. Right? They're just such a bad. The weird thing about the Pistons is if you look at their roster, like there are names that like, ooh, like Cade Cunningham's good. And like, I think Jaden Ivey's a pretty good player. And, they have some solid talent there, but they just can't win basketball games. So, it doesn't matter in the end if they can't play together.
Yeah, they might be a good team in like 4 years, but right now
they're always 4 years away. So they're about to have the number 1 pick in the lottery again. So we'll see who comes out.
All right. How about the you got a pick in this in the Pacers Grizzlies game, right?
I do. Again, John Morant came back the other night, played 35 minutes off the rip, had a monster night. And I wrote this up doing that playbook. We have to be worried about Desmond Bane, I think. Desmond Bane's usage rate last year took a big hit whenever John Morant was on the floor. And I think the books haven't really adjusted yet to Bane. The fact that John Morant is back. Now, listen, I'm not saying I'm smarter than the books. I'm sure they've taken that into account. But these Desmond Bane numbers seem a little bit too high. I'm going to go under his PRA of 34.5 here tonight. That's points, rebounds, and assists combined. I know it's a great spot against the Pacers, a high game, total game, fast pace. But I think John Morant's just going to continue to dominate the ball, dominate the usage. He nearly triple-doubled in that game against the Pelicans, and that's just not going to leave enough room for Desmond Bane, I think, unless he gets it purely off the points to go over the PRA. I don't think he's going to get enough assists. He only had 1 in each of the last 2 games, or 1 rebound rather in each of the last 2 games. Couple of assists there, but he's going to really have to pick up the scoring. So I said to take the under in his props the other day. Those came through. I'm going to go the under again in his props tonight at 34.5 PRA.
Yeah, I mean the addition of John Morant there, and he was looking really good in that debut. I mean, he hit the game winner, right?
Yeah,
for
hit the game winner. He had a over 40% usage rate in his first game back, which is elite. He had 35% overall last year. His first game back, plays all the minutes, hits the game winner, and has a 40% usage rate. And everybody else is just going to sort of suffer because of that. He's just too ball dominant. Now he's going up against the Pacers, fast-paced team, high game total. It feels like just another Morant domination game here. If you want to go, I think they have Morant's points at like 32 tonight. It's a big number, but he just went over it in his first game back. He certainly could go over it here tonight too.
All right, this next prop you have is one that I'm pretty sure you, James Grande, anybody we've had on to talk some NBA, this is a popular player to give out a prop for.
Yeah, Kobe White has been absolutely unbelievable. It actually his streak ended last night. He almost backdoor covered it. In that matchup there, he had 17, 7, and 5. I think I wanted to say he ended up finishing with. So he was just a couple off of his PRA prop. He's a couple off of his points and rebounds, which is one that I've been giving out a lot of, is the points plus rebounds prop here. But with Zach LaVine out of the lineup, just Kobe White's been unbelievable. Obviously a little bit of a tougher matchup he found himself in there last night against the Lakers here, but he's gone over to the 22 points total now in 6 of the last 8 games. No Zach LaVine in the lineup still. They faced San Antonio. He had 24 actual in that game against San Antonio a few nights back. So just kind of look to run it back. He takes a bunch of shots. Him and DeMar DeRozan are really pushing the tempo. And it's difficult to kind of go inside against San Antonio right now with the way Victor Wembanyama is sort of blocking everything that gets in his way. So you're going to see Kobe White, I think, taking a lot of shots from the outside perimeter here today. So we're going to go his point prop over 22.5.
And I'm looking at his PRA is 33.5. And I know, that's one you've given out on the show before.
Yeah, I think they're all kind of in play. I think tonight the rebounding is a little worried for me just because Wemby had a 20 rebound game against them earlier this year. That's just a lot of, Keldon Johnson's been a pretty good rebounder for San Antonio. He's got to deal with Vucevic. So I think the rebounding might be a little bit more scarce tonight for Kobe White to get in there and grab some boards. So I went the point route here this evening.
Gotcha. Speaking of Wemby, you got a couple picks here for Victor Wembanyama.
I do. I'm going to go over the 13.5 rebounds for him here. Since he's been moved to center, he's gone over this total in 3 of the 5 games. The 2 games he did not go over this total, he had 13 rebounds. So a rebound shy, hooked off. I'm going 5 for 5 here. His first game moved to the center spot was against Chicago, and he had 20 rebounds in that matchup. So again, he's an absolute freak. The wingspan, been more than anybody in the NBA. I'm going to go the rebound prop here for Wemby. The move to center has just been tremendous for him in that department. So I like that. And then we're going to go blocks. I went the all block line here, 3+, because it's the only way you can actually get good odds on his block prop here. Lately there's just too juiced everything else here. So again, this is a guy that's had 8-9 block games lately. Some pretty impressive totals for him. He's an elite shot blocker. Anybody gets within range of him, even from like the perimeter, he's blocking shots here. So I'll go over the 3+ blocks here tonight for Wembanyama.
Yeah, I like that. His rebounds and blocks, if you just kind of do like a same game parlay with like some alt lines, he's been going over that a lot this year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. And then you got a couple picks in this Thunder game tonight.
I do. I'm going to go Thunder -4.5 on the alt line. It's moved up a little bit. It was 5.5. I liked it at 4.5. I got it -135 on the 4.5 here. If you wanted 5.5, that's fine too. But the thinking on this one is, one, I think the Thunder are really good. Number one, they're a number 2 seed in the West. They're home, which I like as well. The Clippers are on a back-to-back, and both the Paul George and Kawhi Leonard this afternoon popped up as questionable. So you always wonder on back-to-backs with George and Leonard if they're going to sit. They haven't done so yet. They've been really good about being in the lineup. Paul George did just miss the most recent game due to an illness, but if both of those guys sit out, or if one of those guys sit out here, the Thunder just feel like a really good spot to take advantage of them when they're at home. Obviously, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is someone that's always going to be sort of, in that tier A conversation. Chet Holmgren's got 15 blocks over the last 2 games and really sort of asserting himself in the middle there. And like I mentioned, the Thunder just in general are a really good team. I think they're 9-5 against the spread at home on the year. So getting them at a pretty decent total here. Again, I took the 4.5. It got bumped up to 5.5 once the questionable news popped out there today. I think it's a good buy.
So you got Chet Holmgren and Victor Wembanyama props tonight. I want to ask you quickly about the NBA Rookie of the Year race right now. I don't know what the odds are, but is Holmgren live to win this, or is it kind of Wemby all the way?
Yeah, I mean, I think Wemby is going to take it, but I actually just pulled it up right now. Chet is -125 leader. Wemby's -115. So I think ultimately Wemby will take it just because he's Victor Wembanyama, and I think the voters will just go to that. But Chet's been very good. No doubt about it in our arguments. He had the key moment there against Golden State, hitting the 3 to go to overtime, which I think a lot of people will have like sort of in their memory banks here. And then lately, he's just been putting up some really great defensive production. Like I mentioned, 15 blocks over the last 2 games for him here. Now, Wemby's just as good, been giving you just as good of the attention there. And a lot more hype is surrounding him because I think people, Chet was drafted last year and he had to miss his entire rookie year. So it almost feels like people don't consider him a rookie in their mindset, but it is his first full year in the NBA. So, I think there's a little bit more of an advantage for Chet Holmgren to be able to be like around the NBA team and practicing and like doing all that stuff for a full year. Wemby's got to get used to the pace of the NBA. So I think Wemby's still the way to go. But Chet's having a tremendous first year here.
I remember at the beginning of the season when we were talking about these odds and predictions, the thing that kept coming up about Wemby was if he's going to play enough games, right, to be qualified to win the award. We haven't really seen him like sit, any long stretches of games this year, but I always wonder if that's coming, later in the season, if the Spurs are just kind of tanking and maybe rest Wemby with whatever injury that pops up, whether it's real or not. So yeah, that's always in the back of my mind about Wemby. All right. So some NBA bets for Thursday night. Thanks, John, for jumping on here. We're going to talk some college football, bring in our producer, Adam Bernard, but say goodbye to John. Thanks for popping on here, man. For sure, guys. I'll talk to you later. All right, Adam. College football bowl games. We got rolling this whole week, but Saturday, I got some bets to break down and give out to the people here.
One thing I noticed is these all involve a Sun Belt Conference team. So, very exciting stuff here.
Yeah, when I was putting in these bets, and there are other games that don't involve Sun Belt teams on Saturday, I didn't fully realize I was going with some of these games that were all involving Sun Belt teams. And on that note, so the Sun Belt was a pretty good conference this year, comparably to other, power or G5 conferences out there. But they have not had great success in the bowls so far. That a lot of their teams have been in some of these early bowls already, and we've seen some interesting, questionable performances, including last week. I gave out Georgia Southern. They got smashed by Ohio, even though Ohio was down to like their third stringers on offense. I still don't understand that, but that's bowl season. You never know what you're going to get with these teams.
A lot of matchups, teams that never play each other. They don't ever see each other. So yeah, it's a wild card a lot of the times. But looks like you're going. We've got like the cream of like the Sun Belt, and then like we kind of work our way down. Right now, we start with the cream with Troy, who I believe won the conference this year, the Sun Belt. So they got Duke in the Birmingham Bowl. Looks like you think they're going to cover here, no problem.
I do. I'm going Troy minus the 7. It moved down a little bit. It was 7.5. It was 8.5, but some money has been coming on Duke. But I'm sticking with Troy. This was a kind of like for the past few weeks when we've seen movement in the transfer portal and coaching changes. This has just been a spot that I've kind of circled to take Troy, and I got to stick with it because you mentioned Troy pretty much ran through the Sun Belt this year. They're on a 10-game winning streak now. They're 8-1 against the spread in their last 9 games. They got a stud running back in Kamani Vidal, a really good team overall. I look at Duke, though, here. They're down a ton. So transfer portal and coaching changes, NFL opt-outs have really hit Duke hard this bowl season. With some teams already this year, it hasn't mattered, in some instances. But I got to see it from Duke because their head coach, Mike Elko, is now at Texas A&M. He took, 2 assistant coaches with him. The interim coach for this is Trooper Taylor, but he's also reportedly going to join Elko at Texas A&M too. So you kind of wonder how much he's invested in this game from a coaching standpoint. But Duke is down quarterback Riley Leonard, who's now committed to Notre Dame. They're going with Grayson Loftus as their backup to start this, who did start some games at the end of the season. So he's not, brand new, getting thrown into the fire, which I think is notable. But Duke is also down 4 defensive starters, an offensive lineman, starting O lineman. They're starting running back, or backup running back, a wide receiver, one of their best receivers. So they're losing, all in the transfer portal or going to the NFL. They're just down a lot of guys, and it's just going to be forcing some backups that haven't honestly played a ton this year on both sides of the ball, now in bigger roles. It's really question mark. We've seen this with teams. It's gone one way, it's gone a different way. But Troy on the other side, they are only down 2 notable players, both on defense. But I just feel like they're coming in here with a lot more buy-in from the whole team, a lot more motivation with just being a lower conference team now, getting the chance to play, an ACC team in Duke and prove itself and win the game. Not only cover, but just kind of take it. The 7 points is interesting because it's a touchdown here, but I think it's very much worth noting. This is the Birmingham Bowl. Troy's campus in Alabama is not too far away.
You don't have to travel very far for this one. No.
And Duke on the other hand, if you casual college football fans might remember, they started out really strong this year, and there was like real aspirations. Like this is kind of like a dark horse in the ACC, maybe a fringe playoff contender. But the injury to Riley Leonard halfway through the year, and just kind of ending the season on a sour note. They lost 4 of their last 6 games coming into this. I just think it's a tough spot for Duke, their offense especially, because Troy had a top 25 defense this season. So it's also just full transparency. Troy's head coach also left. He's at Tulane now, but their defensive coordinator Greg Gasparotto is taken over as the interim for this bowl game. But I think it's not bad situation because he's a guy he's probably trying to play and coach for the head coaching job here at Troy. But as the defensive coordinator, his defense was like a top 25 unit this year. And I think the defense is going to be the difference maker in this. I see the -7, by the way. When Troy won this year, they usually won big. 9 of their 11 wins this season were by double digits. So I think they're going to cover here. maybe we get a push, but would be honestly surprised if Duke won this game. Of course, famous last words.
Famous last words. Now, we're still with the cream of the Sun Belt because we move on now. James Madison, who won their division in the Sun Belt, but they didn't win the conference. They're taking on Air Force in the Armed Forces Bowl, and as a Army fan here, I don't love this pick you got. I'm not a fan.
As an Army fan, you can't support the service academies as a whole, though.
I mean, yes, as a whole, but I mean, listen, I mean, they're not Navy. I mean, I do have this on my desk, so I mean, that's how I feel.
So this is the Armed Forces Bowl. So you guys got to all come together for this. It's the Armed Forces Bowl.
Fine.
So first of all, with James Madison, I'm being fully transparent. We have no idea what team we're getting here because they have a number of players in the transfer portal, but there's also been reports that a lot of these guys could play in this bowl. Despite being in the portal. But we've seen with some top players in the portal already this bowl season that played, a quarter, played a half, maybe warmed up but didn't play at all. Like it's very much a fluid situation. But on that note, in the transfer portal right now is their stud quarterback, Jordan McLeod, their starting running back, their starting wide receiver, starters, 2 starters on the O-line, 3 starters on the defensive line, 2 starting linebackers, 1 starting cornerback. They're all either in the portal or out due to injury in this game. We honestly, this might be a situation if you want to wait and to see who's actually warming up, who's actually going to play, because it's very fluid. But also on the JMU side, their head coach, Kurt Cignetti, is now at Indiana. He took the Indiana head coaching job. He also took his defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator, and a few other assistant coaches with him to Indiana. So they're all not on the sidelines for this game. And JMU actually had to hire 5 temporary coaches just to get through this bowl to prep for this. It's a really interesting situation. But that is, I think, a tough situation because you have to prep for an Air Force triple option offense. With, again, their D coordinator leaving, some assistants leaving. Like, I got to wonder about just how much prep and how good the prep is for this coaching staff, let alone all those starters I mentioned on the defensive side being out. I think it's very notable. Well, again, we'll see if they actually do play or not. But I just, overall in this situation, I wonder about the motivation for JMU because of all these guys in the portal with their head coach leaving. I know this is a huge for JMU. This is actually their first ever bowl appearance. They're a new D1 team, but so there might be a motivation on that standpoint. But overall in this game, this is the Armed Forces Bowl. Okay, give me Air Force on the money line. This is 7. So when a service academy, that doesn't happen every year in the Armed Forces Bowl, but when a service academy team plays in the Armed Forces Bowl, they've now won 4 straight and 7 of the last 10. Some of them as favorites, some of them as underdogs. Here, they're a slight underdog to JMU. I'll gladly take the money line here at plus 100. Historically, by the way, in bowl games, these service academy teams, Navy, Army, Air Force, they show up. They're motivated to play in these bowls no matter the situation. You can question certainly what the deal is with JMU, but 70% about against the spread hit rate for these service academy teams in bowls. Air Force actually just played in the Armed Forces Bowl last year, and they beat Baylor, beat them pretty handily too. So they're familiar with this exact bowl, this exact stadium. I just think they're going to have a lot more motivation and just a lot of things go in their direction. And I got to see it from JMU. Got to see who's playing and what their actual motivation is for this.
Yeah, the service academies definitely take pride playing in the Armed Forces Bowl. I mean, they take pride playing in any game, but definitely when it's kind of named after you in a way, like, no, right. You want to show up. So, So now we've talked about 2 of the top teams in the Sun Belt. We're gonna head a little bit further down to the 6-6 teams. First, we'll start with Georgia State, who play at home at the former Brave Stadium, and then that was the Olympics Stadium in '96 before that. But this week, they're going to be traveling to the Idaho Potato Bowl and playing on the Smurf turf at Albertson Stadium, taking on the Utah State Aggies. What do you got?
Yeah, 2 6-6 teams here. You mentioned it. So this game is being played on Boise State's blue turf. I think this gives a slight boost to Utah State because it's a Mountain West team. It's a stadium they've played in before, obviously, or over the recent, throughout their years. But it's also not as much travel for them compared to Georgia State. But they're familiar with it's going to be some colder weathers and temperatures in Boise for this one. Utah State is very much familiar with that, having played in it. And I just think overall that gives a little boost to Utah State. But down to the transfer portal, Georgia State definitely got hurt in the transfers because they're without their 2 top offensive playmakers for this. Stud running back Marcus Carroll already committed to Missouri, and their top wide receiver Robert Lewis already committed to Auburn. They're both not playing in this game. Georgia State's also down their backup running back, so their lead back for this game is going to be a guy who had less than 10 carries this year. They still got their good quarterback Darren Granger, but I think there's going to be too much on his shoulders for the Georgia State offense in this because, the Utah State defense isn't particularly strong. You got to admit that. But I just expect a lot of offensive struggles here from Georgia State being down legit. Marcus Carroll is a legit dude who's now going to be playing in the SEC next year. And that was their workhorse. And Robert Lewis is a really good receiver. 2 guys they relied on, like in the red zone, down near the goal line. Losing those guys, I think, is going to matter. Utah State on the other side, so they're starting their backup quarterback, Levi Williams. But it's actually a better situation than you might think because he just played in the regular season finale and led the team to an overtime win for the Utah State to actually become bowl eligible for this. So he's got a lot of motivation to end the year strong after just doing that. And this guy with a ton of dual threat ability, who can, he's like kind of like a second running back at the quarterback spot there, but he also has 2 talented wide receivers to kind of throw to, and Jalen Royals and Terrell Vaughn. And the Georgia State defense is not good. They're not good against the pass. They're not good against the run. So I think Utah State's going to have a lot of success offensively in this spot. And I think it's going to be tough for Georgia State on the other side to just keep pace throughout. The spread's tight, 2.5. Taking the Utah State money line, paying a little bit for the -140 on BetMGM. Because could see like a 1-point win or something like that. But overall, I just don't think Georgia State can hang with Utah State here. Last point here, Levi Williams, the quarterback for Utah State, as I mentioned, he played at Wyoming a couple years ago before transferring. He actually played in this exact same bowl game at Wyoming and won. Led Wyoming to the bowl win on the blue turf here for the Idaho Potato Bowl. So I think he's going to turn back the clock, do it again here for Utah State. So yeah, give me the money line for Utah State.
All right. So we are Utah State money line, and then we have a matchup of 6-6 teams here. We started with a bowl game in the state of Alabama. Let's close with one. South Alabama taking on Eastern Michigan in the 68 Ventures Bowl down in Mobile. You think this is not going to be a high-scoring game?
Do not. So the spread here, I wouldn't touch at all. It's 17 for South Alabama, but I am just not touching that. Overall, I just think this is going to be a low-scoring game. First off, the game is being played in South Alabama's home stadium, which I think is notable. It's basically a true road game for Eastern Michigan here. But EMU this year did not have a good offense. Only averaged 20 points per game this year, ranked 114th in the country. But they're also now playing without their starting quarterback who entered the transfer portal, rolling with 2 inexperienced quarterbacks expected to split time now. I just find it very hard it's hard to see how EMU really moves the ball effectively or scores in this situation, honestly, because South Alabama's defense was top 30 against the run and top 50 against the pass this year. Again, they're playing at home, and basically in this bowl game. So that in general just leads me to EMU not going to add much to this total. But I also have questions on South Alabama's side. That's why I'm hesitant to back their spread here to cover, but I'll take the under because their offense. They're also another team. They're down their top 2 skill position players from the season. Stud wide receiver Colin Lacey is in the transfer portal, and their workhorse stud running back LaDamian Webb has opted out for the NFL draft. Those 2 guys, they relied on a lot in the pass and the run, especially in the red zone, down near the goal line. And then South Alabama's quarterback situation is up in the air right now. Carter Bradley dealing with a knee injury, might not play. I just think there's a lot of question marks on the South Alabama side of things here offensively. They're not as potent as they were in the regular season. So this is an under all the way for me. Not touching the spread again, but I just don't think there's going to be a ton of offense in this game. So maybe don't watch the 68 Ventures Bowl, but take the under.
Fair enough. I was going to say 17 seems like quite a large number. When it's a large spread like that, and we'll say a middle to lower end total, like that's not a good recipe right there.
I'd probably also look at the Eastern Michigan team total under because I don't think they're scoring much in this game.
A rough day to be in Eastern Michigan there.
Tough one, yeah. All right, so that's those are Saturday games. Again, we got thanks for coming in here, Adam. We got bowl games going all day Saturday, but Syracuse is playing tonight, Georgia Tech tomorrow, so some interesting matchups. But all next week we got a ton of bowl games too. So it should be fun to watch some of these. All right, that's about it for us. We're gonna get out of here. Again, if you missed it earlier in the show, we gave out some Thursday night football bets, some NBA bets as well. So you can rewind a little bit on the YouTube there if you missed any of that. Coming up after us, 5 p.m. Eastern is the NBA DFS live show with Jon Impemba and James Grande. And then on the Bettorcast tonight, it's the Bendercast, 8:15 p.m. Eastern for Saints Rams Thursday night football. 7 p.m. Eastern before that, trivia with Moose and Keith. So a little double dip there on the Bettorcast tonight for your Thursday night. And we'll be back tomorrow. Me and Howard Bender giving out our best bets for NFL Week 16. So stay tuned for that. Props, touchdown predictions, and all that good stuff. So thanks for everyone for tuning in here, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow. Good luck with all your own bets, and we'll see you guys later.
Bettor Sports.